government now?
I think I want to go into the private sector.
Me too, son. Me too.
All right, you get it. So they can be incredibly controversial or they can be incredibly necessary. I had a chart, like I don't know what I've done with it, but most every president in our history has issued executive orders. Some, like FDR, issued a massive amount. I mean, I think it's almost one a day if you look at the number that he issued. But he was also president during the Great Depression and World War II, right? So a lot of it is related to the time period and their relationship with the Congress. Right? All right, the next one is a signing statement. Again, many presidents have issued this. This is not a new thing, though they are more modern. Like modern presidents have used them at greater frequency. So a signing statement is when the president gets a bill, they sign it, and they agree to it, but then they issue a secondary statement, which is like it's kind of like a directive to the bureaucracy. This is what I want you to do with it. This is how I intend for you to enforce it. So an interesting thing about W's time in office, so the first 6 years he had a Republican-controlled Congress, and he ended up vetoing one bill in 6 years, which is incredible and like unheard of. But he issued quite a few signing statements. To me, a signing statement is kind of a selective, like, I'm going to ignore these parts. And remember, we talked a lot about bureaucratic discretion and what does the law mean and how do we enforce it. So this is definitely a way that a president can kind of not make the law, but influence the law that's been made. This is not a fancy vocabulary term. This is just my way of saying that during a time of crisis, there are things we allow a president to do that we would not allow them to do during a time of peace. If you think about our presidents who have been most powerful, who we often view as most successful, very often Congress took a backseat to them and ceded and let them do things that normally we probably wouldn't be okay with. I mean, FDR, again, is a fantastic example. You guys, FDR, I mean, the amount of things that he did that were in direct violation or in no way supported by the Constitution are phenomenal. But he was president during a time of crisis. We would not normally say, oh, it's okay, we're going to lock people up. We're in a time of war, so because all of these people's ethnicity is such, let's just go ahead and take them and keep them. I mean, like, normally that wouldn't be okay, right? And I would hope even now that the court would make a different kind of decision. But during a time of crisis, we sometimes allow that. I think during 9/11, we really ceded a lot of power to the presidency, and not necessarily President Bush, but the military and the FBI and the CIA, those parts of the executive branch, they were really given a lot of authority that then years later we started trying to like kind of take back and like pull away. So it's just during a foreign policy time, which kind of shows that a foreign policy president typically is way more powerful than a domestic policy president, because for Congress it's easier for them to check in that way. Presidents also possess something called executive privilege. This is the one that everyone always misses. So I'm trying to figure out the way to say it so that it will stick in your head. Executive privilege means that there are things, because you're president, there are parts of the law that you are above, that you don't have to follow. Okay? If Taryn is issued a subpoena to go to court, even if she doesn't want to go, she has to go. It's a court order. She has to testify. She can sit there and be grumpy and uncooperative, but she has to answer the questions. If the president is issued a subpoena, they might be able to claim executive privilege and not have to go. Executive privilege is real, but it's very, very narrow. Executive privilege would exist like, let's say that a reporter got wind of our continued involvement in Syria, and they wanted to investigate like what was happening with troop movement. And so they went to court to try to get the executive branch to turn over some kind of information. The president might be able to claim executive privilege, and the court might go, you know what, we're not going to make you tell us that, because it would put American lives in danger. But if a reporter was trying to investigate like a sexual harassment claim against Donald Trump, he can't claim executive privilege, because that doesn't put the nation in danger, just makes him or the presidency look bad. So we've had several presidents that have claimed executive privilege. They're almost always wrong. So it's a real thing. It's just really, really narrow. Does that help? You got it? Okay. So this is just my way of saying that the institution of the presidency allows them to use that to put pressure on the other branches. I am continually amazed that in the months preceding the election, there were a number of leaders in our Congress who were Republican who did not like President Trump, who openly criticized his policies, who claimed not to support him, who now that he is president have fallen in line with what he's asking. Part of that is party, part of that is getting what you want, but part of that is because he's no longer a candidate and he's the president. And there is some built-in kind of like, okay, we're going to go along with what the president asks. So even though all along I've been telling you the legislature is the most important, and they are the most powerful, by the fact that we have this presidency that has grown so tremendously, that institution has come to really put a lot of power on the other parts of the government where it can. Okay. All right, if you'll flip your paper over, and Cole is going to read us question 2, please, my friend. On the back of that first page, question 2.